Hello, beautiful people. I hope you had a beautiful Thanksgiving. It seems like weeks have gone by since Thanksgiving and it hasn't even been a week yet. That's how time rushes by, right? Today, I wanted to share some thoughts with you about grief groups. One of the things that helped me the most in my healing journey was going to a loss of parent support group back in '09. Now, those of you who know my story know that I didn't have a single friend here because my mother died 8 months after we relocated from India to Chicago. And I tell the whole story of this loss and the relocation and how it transformed and shifted my life completely in my memoir, Losing Amma, Finding Home. That's available on Amazon if you'd like to check it out. So, not having a friend, not having any family close by to lean on, I knew that I had to do something to heal my grief. And the thing that seemed most comforting was to find a grief group. I found a grief group in a local church. Just walking into that large church was such an intimidating experience because, as many of you know, I was born and raised Hindu, and so hadn't had much experience walking into a church, didn't know what to expect. It was really large and crowded. There were several tables with several people talking about different kinds of losses. So it was a fairly intimidating experience. That being said, I think that grief group was one of the best decisions I made for myself because it gave me a space to cry, to tell my story, to vent my anger at God, all of the things that I was going through. This group held me and they helped me to share my grief and to process it and to just, at that stage, I don't even think I was processing anything. I just needed to tell my story as a way to remember and repeat to myself that this awful thing really had happened. My mother had died at 68 years of age. Today, I support grieving women, and many women come to me and say that a grief support group just didn't feel right for them. I get that. I totally get that because not every group is a good fit for you. Let me back up a little and explain how this works. We are tribal beings. We love community. As much as we crave independence and talk about how we can figure things out ourselves, deep within us is a primal longing for community and shared experience. When that happens, we are always looking for people who can validate us, who can listen to us, who can witness our life experience. Belonging is one of the most important needs that we have after our basic needs for food and shelter are met. When we go through a difficult experience like loss, it could be the death of a loved one, a divorce, the end of a relationship, your kids leaving home, any kind of loss, you immediately, instinctively want to find a group of people that have shared that experience. This is why we look for groups. This is why there are so many different groups on Facebook. There's a group for virtually everything. So we look for a group where we can share our story, where others will hear us, listen to us, and validate what we're going through. And this is a basic primal need. The need for belonging and the need for community is so strong in us. It is such a tribal need that when we don't feel like we belong to a group, it can create a real sense of panic and discomfort in us. This is why so many of us fear disapproval. We'd rather play safe and belong to the group and play by the rules than to share a different opinion, than to let our voice be known, than to say something that goes against the opinion of a group. We have this need for belonging. That's why this happens. That being said, if you are in a group that just doesn't feel right for you, listen to your heart. Listen to your heart if your heart is saying you don't belong there. Much as we have a need to tell our story and tell it many times over, if the group keeps you playing small and stuck in your story, then that's not the right group for you. There are groups for everything, like I said. There are groups where divorcees hang out. There are groups where people who have OCD hang out. There are groups where type A personalities hang out. There are groups for bipolar people. There are groups for people with ADHD, all kinds of things. But here's the problem with any kind of group. If you become limited by the definition of the group, then you become identified with the group's identity. In other words, your definition becomes, I have bipolar, I have ADHD, I'm grieving a loss. That becomes the identity if that's all the group is offering you in terms of sharing your story, listening to you, talking about how terrible loss feels, how nobody understands. And those are all important conversations, don't get me wrong. But if that's where it stops, you need to ask yourself, is this group a right fit for me? Or is this group keeping me playing small? Because you are so much bigger than your story. You're so much bigger than the experience and circumstances you find yourself in right now. You are so much bigger than a label. You are going through a life experience. You are not defined by that life experience. You are not your ADHD. You are not your loss. You are not your grief. You are not your OCD. You are not your status as a divorced woman. But when we belong to groups that tell these stories over and over, and they limit who we are, and they label our experience as who we are, then those groups don't serve us anymore. So understand that you want to belong to groups that help you grow, that help expand you from this life experience that you've gone through. You want a group that has members who ask you questions, who share experiences with honesty and authenticity, but also let you know that this is a season of life that you're going through, that you're not going to remain stuck here forever, that you don't need to be identified with this story because you can write a brand new story. You can write a story of empowerment. You can write a story where you are the heroine that does courageous things, where you are able to transform your pain and live a life of meaning and joy. Those are the kinds of groups you should look for. So if you have a niggling feeling that you are in a group that is not serving your needs, listen to the voice of your heart and take the next step towards finding a group that is right for you, that is a good fit for you. I do facilitate a group on Facebook. It's called Transform Pain into Purpose, but this is not a promotion for that group. I just want you to listen to your own heart. You don't have to join my group. It may not be the right fit for you where you are, but I want you to do your own research and I want you to find a group that serves your needs. Because you are important, your voice is important, your story is important. You don't want to be labeled and limited by the season you're in right now. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. If you have a question, post it below this video. I would be happy to hear your comments, your questions, and your thoughts. Take care. Have a beautiful day. I'll speak to you soon.